Welcome back to Making Money Matter. I'm your host, Kerry Stevenson, and today I've asked Jason Beckton, Managing Director of Prospech. ASX code is PRS. Now, I saw Jason, I've known him for a long time, and he's been in this business for a while. He's reached out because he's pretty excited about some of their rare earth results that are coming out of Finland. They've got projects in Slovakia as well. But before I get started, Jason, I've known you for a while. You're looking like a bit of a lumberjack there. What is that thing on your upper lip?
Yeah, no, Kerry, you're not alone with the correct criticism of my appearance. It's to do with Movember, sadly. Well, not sadly, about men's health. And I do try to get a start because the ginger moustache takes a while to mature. So,
isn't that cheating?
Not legally. No, you're allowed to grow. I never cheat. You know me for 20 years, but what I do is try to get an advantage, I guess, so we can talk about that.
Okay, so why you do so this is for men's mental health, is it?
That's right. Yeah, here in Monday, where I live, before I go to Finland on the weekend, we try to contribute a little bit to a growing problem in society of men's mental health, and in particular the mental health probably of managing directors on the ASX at the moment. We can talk about that, but jokes aside, it's very important, and they do a great job here of organising it.
Okay, so if somebody wants to, look, before we get into what Prospech is, but if somebody wanted to donate, how do they do that?
So it's just, there's a website, Movember, Movember, and it's an Australian affiliate, recognised charity. You can sponsor people or just put direct donations in yourself. And in the case of about 60 of us here in your Monday Noosa, we just put it directly in.
Okay, so go look up Movember.com, I guess it is. And then you can search for Jason Beckton, Beckton, Jason Beckton's name, and donate. Donate to the ginger.
All right. I know. But anyway, let's talk about something more attractive, which is Prospech.
Absolutely. And I know you're excited about it. First time you've been on Making Money Matter. We're going to make rare earths matter. Give us a brief overview on who are Prospech.
So Prospech listed in 2020. Its ASX code is PRS. We also have a Frankfurt code of 1P80, and we are an exploration company that have traditionally sought out gold, silver opportunities, which we still maintain in Slovakia. However, we've been working in the background on a few rare earth and critical element assets since 2017 in Finland, and it came time when we did a related party transaction that's on the ASX to fold these assets into PRS. And the corporate backbone of the company is a reflection of the 16 or so years on and off that I've been with the Ms Corp group, particularly Peter Nightingale, Tom Mann out of Sydney. So we've worked together for a long time on developing assets for shareholders. In this case, the reason we're, despite the fickle market, and we can refer to that if you like, but we're very confident about the one particular asset in the company, which we'll dwell mostly on in Korsnas, which is not unusual. Every junior I've ever run, and I've been an MD since 2007, always does have one focus of value, and that is the case here. We of course maintain internal competition with other prospects, but at the moment Korsnas is miles in front. We can talk about that. Okay,
so Korsnas is in Finland. That's the focus at the moment. That's where the news flow is coming out, and it's rare earths. Is that correct?
Sure. Yeah, no, and I might, absolutely, that is the focus. And I think visually it's best just to show you one or two quick slides rather than verbally going through it.
Yeah, I'm a visual girl, so show me a visual. Okay.
I hope this is, hang on, I'll just maximize it. And so importantly, where I'll be on the weekend, I'm just about to go back to site, or to Rovaniemi in particular, but in the end, Korsnas is on the central west side of Finland here. The key point before we talk about rare earths, logistically, it's all year round work. It's also an old mine site, which we'll refer to in a minute. We did pick up some other assets. Again, they're now, well, by the end of December, they'll be 100% PRS through the earn-in agreement with Bambara Oy, which is a Finnish holding company. Jockey Kangas is another rare earth project. It is distant second in terms of focus. We'll talk about why. It's mainly to do with metallurgy, but also the fact we've got nearly 500 holes to sample at Korsnas. And Serenkala lithium asset is greenfield, so we are at the soil sampling stage there. I think the key thing that we like about Korsnas, and this map is a little busy, but it's important that it's busy for a reason. Finland is long been a country that's focused on processing and refinement of materials. And that's come about through the Outokumpu company in the past, that rather than becoming a miner, became mainly a refiner and processor. And the legacy of that is a lot of, if you like, capacity for critical element processing. They're working on improving that, of course, but what they've done is overlook the supply side, which is mines, not just processing. And we've seen that with some of the...
Sorry to interrupt you, Jason, but and I hope you can't hear, but there's a lot of noise going around in the background here. Hopefully you can't hear that, but it's driving me nuts up here on the Gold Coast. Very noisy area.
It is minimal. Don't worry.
Sorry.
I can't hear anything, Kerry. It's fine. I appreciate you have a motorsport event, and again, hopefully they're using a lot of critical elements in their vehicles, right?
Probably. As an investor, Finland is not a place that I would turn around and say, "Oh, great, Finland, great mining jurisdiction." Is there a historical element to this? Is there a lot of support for mining in Finland? It just doesn't come to mind straight away for me.
Sure, and I appreciate the ASX investment cohort may or may not be aware. There's been a lot of ASX companies here in the past, and particularly if we get to the way I judge a jurisdiction is, are the large and small group, do you have an ecosystem of smaller companies like us? And in fact, the biggest companies, Rio Tinto, have pegged around us recently at Serenkala. So there's a wide spectrum of companies, just like Australia or Canada, who are investing at the speculative end like us, but also at the processing end, as you can see on the map. So Finland does have a history, but also a current, if you like, the contemporary investment climate. For example, Agnico Eagle are investing $4.5 billion on an underground gold mine at Kittilä, where I'll be next week. Agnico Eagle, $4.5 billion US. Okay. They're investing at Kittilä, where I'm going on a mine tour next week after the Levy conference. And so this is what you call a tier one jurisdiction, where if you find it, you'll mine it, obviously with first world permitting in mind. And what we like about it is, and I'm not too worried about first world costs because it's the same as here as Australia. What we like about it is there's also what you call a first world geological survey. They've put together the database at Korsnas, for example. However, not all of it. So we were assured that everything was done, but we'll talk about it in a minute. The fact that our John Levings, a very capable executive director, found about 60 plans and maps, which we're digitising at the moment into a resource model, and the 499. I know that sounds like a contrived number, but that is the actual number of drill holes that we're modelling at the moment. And importantly,
these are historical drill holes, are they? That 499.
Yeah, that's right. And one key point that, and when it comes to risk, I guess mitigation, is most of them were not sampled at all because they were drilled for lead. If I can just show you the next slide quickly, and it won't be death by PowerPoint. These will be the only two slides I show you. This is an old mine, and this is my favourite kind of project since I became a geo in 92, is old mines generally leave behind a lot of value, as we've seen in Western Australia. In this case, it was a mine that was put together by the Outokumpu company and the Geological Survey in the past to mine for lead. So they found a lead plum on one structure. But what is important, and this is what came out in our press release this week about some new results, which, by the way, I think is the best press release I've had the honour of signing in 20 years in the industry. But
why? Okay, I'm not going to play with that.
Just a side comment. Release? Yeah, so why is because basically thickness and grade. So emotive comments to one side. It's all about how many intercepts do you have? Are they open? What's the grade? And generally, as a rule of thumb, you want to be over 10,000 ppm rare earth or over 1%, which is the same. And generally, you want to be wider than 5 meters thickness. And the reason we think of those numbers is we do believe this will be about 5 separate stoping areas. Under the main pit, you can see there in the mid-distance, but also to the east of that, or further into the diagram and towards us in the image, where some of the best intercepts are under the forest, where they didn't do any mining, complete virgin areas because it didn't have lead. The overall theme, and I guess if you're like me, you remember one or two things from a presentation, but from my point of view, the thing I found exciting, particularly after April, when I went to the core shed to log some of this core and realised it wasn't sampled at all, because the geologists at the time, and I don't judge this, they were lead geologists. If they didn't see any lead in the core, they left it, they nailed it shut in a tight box.
Oh, wow.
And so because they're rare earth oxides, they don't weather, they don't degrade. So we can sample this pristine material, some of it from the 60s, and put them in as modern JORC numbers. So, and importantly, even if they didn't see any lead in it, they still logged it in a very detailed way. And I saw this as a young geologist in Broken Hill in 92. If the geologists at the time didn't see lead and zinc, they wouldn't even sample it at all, which is fair enough because you can waste a lot of time. But the excitement we have is the government are helping us to identify the right units to sample, and it's basically a white unit in amongst grey host rock, so it's not too hard. Although John Levings and the crew just last month found extra zones in the footwall and hanging wall, which came out this week. And I don't want to snow your audience with technical matters, but that means we'll get thicker, broader zones that are definitely amenable to underground mining. We think, and we can't mention what the gold equivalent numbers are, but if you add up, you basically need equivalent of about 0.5% rare earth to mine underground, we think, as long as it's 5 meters wide. So we do have those economic numbers in mind. I think the resource in the end will be higher grade than that, but that's a speculative comment.
Look, Jason, there's been a lot of talk around rare earths, and apparently they're not that rare. But again, from our audience watching this at the moment, and you're saying, to get into mining, etc., how difficult is it going to be to process, and what type of rare earths have you got? And there's so many questions I've got about, it's quite early stage, or do you think it's further along because there's been a lot of drilling that's happened there, and the rare earths are coming up? Because I know that there's a lot of rare earth projects out there that potentially will never get into a mine because they just don't have the grade and they don't have the thickness that you spoke about earlier.
Yeah, so grade, as we've mentioned, the thickness piece, but also you referred to the metallurgy. This was a processing plant in the past, and importantly, the type of rare earth host is predominantly a phosphate, like you might see at Nolans in Northern Territory, or you might see in Western Australia, Mount Weld. So phosphates, and I'm not a metallurgist, but they are easier to recover the rare earths from. In this case, apatite. Basically, there are some other remnant heavy rare earths, some alanites, which is more related to silica, which is far harder to recover the rare earths from, allanite-based systems. And in fact, Jockey Kangas is one of those. That's why we rank it a far distant second, even though we surround a resource there. Korsnas is a phosphate that was, in fact, processed in the late 60s and 73. So the Finnish engineers and geologists knew they had a rare earth deposit on their hand that happened to have a lead plum in the middle of it, or in the middle of one of the 5 rare earth deposits. They weren't stupid, and they in fact, if you can see my cursor, they stockpiled the rare earth. There's an allanite stockpile.
Okay.
We're currently, or a rare earth stockpile, sorry, apatite, I should say. So we're getting the permits right now to drill a rare earth stockpile that's already broken dirt. The other thing we're working on is permitting to drill out the tailings dam. I've walked over the tailings dam about 4 times, and every time we sample it, it comes back about 0.5% or 5,000 ppm rare earth oxides. So we think there's a few smaller, albeit importantly, broken dirt resources there as well. So there's basically, we're happy with the metallurgy, we're happy with the spatial distribution of the 5 separate ore bodies, which are all parallel. And what I always worry about with these brownfield projects is maybe the previous people did a great job and it's fully tested and it's fully mined, and what are you doing?
Yep.
The key takeaway here is this was a lead mine that lasted 5 years in a tiny area of the internal part of the resource. And it's about 5% of the strike length when you look at it of the currently 5 parallel rare earth structures, which are averaging they're averaging about 7.5 meters thickness at the moment. So we don't want to, encourage people to do back of the envelope calculations yet. We want to finish sampling the main central mine area. And I don't want to cut your questions off, but importantly, we did an agreement with the municipality on this central mine area 2 weeks ago. And that allows us to sample the main central mine. It was already our tenure, but like anywhere in Australia, you can't drill in people's backyards without permission.
Yep.
In this case, of course, and this is a key differentiator for PRS compared to other enterprises, we're not drilling. We don't intend to drill until March next year.
Okay.
And that goes to cash burn. We released our quarterly about an hour before this interview, and we're quite open about the fact that we're not come placement. We're happy to sample these. We need to sample about 100 more holes. Then we need to look at the merit of a mineral resource estimate on the 5 parallel lenses, plus the tailings dam, plus the rare earth stockpile, which is adjacent to the Korsnas mine facility there.
Okay.
You go, sorry.
I'm looking at this area, and I'm seeing Finland, because we all know that there's certain jurisdictions around the world where people get quite nervous. But I'm looking at this picture. I'm looking at forest. Is that
Sure.
protected area, or is that are they mining friendly around the area and they understand it? Talk to us about that.
So the agreement we did with the municipality covered their freehold land over the mine. So this is quite a common thing. You see mining museums in Australia, for example. So it's held freehold by the council, who are, to quote not just the mayoress, but other council members, they want to see a return to the good old days of the mine. In industrial sense, the area, this is not a logging terrain. It's basically what you would call state forest. What you can't see on that imagery, we have, courtesy of the Finnish government, is the detailed LiDAR laser information. There's forestry tracks throughout it, which means any future drilling won't disturb any existing vegetation, apart from cleaning up existing roads. The competing industries in the area are basically the fur industry, which is on the wane. So hence, it's been quite an open door. And importantly, and I know investors worry about hiring too many staff, etc., but our Slovak people can work here. In fact, there is one of them on the way next week, because it's basically working in a different state in the same country in the EU now with Schengen. But importantly as well, the people who in living memory worked at the mine in the early 70s are encouraging their friends and relatives to apply for work with us. So it's likely to be largely a Finnish workforce who speak perfect English.
Okay.
Although the official language of the area, just as a point of levity, is Swedish. So it's got to be that
What?
aside, I find
Why
it
is
very.
that?
It's mainly to do with the old. I'll just retrace. It's mainly to do with the proximity to Sweden in the past.
Okay.
And a historical artifact that this used to be the part of the Kingdom of Sweden. So all down this west coast, down the area down to Turku, in fact, the archipelago, they have a Swedish TV station that's out of Finland, and they tune into Swedish TV. Anyway, bottom line is they're pro-development. Probably our only footprint in the country will be a small, well, we have an office at Oulu, where our very capable country manager sorts out the admin, but Vasa here is a city of about 80,000 people, about half an hour up the road, where we'll just have a depot. So operationally, everything will be run out of the mine, and it's a brownfields play. I assure the audience it's not tourism; it's because of the gravity of this asset and the number of drill holes. And basically,
And it doesn't,
getting back.
Jason, it does not look remote. It looks like it's not going to be you don't need helicopters, you don't need to create lots. It looks like it's on the coast. It's early days. The Korsnas project, as you say, it's an old mine. It's unique, but it's easy access. Is that right? Yeah,
that's right. So all year round, you can work here, importantly. So I've been there at various times of the year where we are attempting at the moment to secure a drill rig to drill out the tailings dam in January. Because of the municipality agreement, we can drill immediately. It's quite, I'm not used to the sort of speed of drill permitting. Of course, it does take time to get your leases fully granted, but these are not, we have priority. There's no issue with third-party competition. As you know, the main piece of competition and exploration is tenure. We pick these properties up. They're basically going to be 100% PRS. for a total outlay of about 200,000 euros by the end of December. So for me, logistically and cost-wise, costs should be managed, so we're not going to hire an army of people. But there's definitely a case of, when we need to do the work, we can do the work, and supportive staff, including with the manager of the museum at the mine, now works for us. So everything's headed in the right direction logistically.
Okay. Earlier in this interview, you turned around and said this is one of the best press releases that you've put out in your career. Now, I want to know why, because I guess for our audience, they want to know why you're so excited. What, like, put it into layman's terms, if you like, why this is so exciting for you.
Well, it comes down to the number of intercepts, how thick they are, and can you go all the way with it. So previous intercepts that have been in my career, such as Caspici in Chile or Bolnesia, Mexico, there's always that one breakthrough announcement on a drill hole where people have what I call a hang on a minute moment and look at the release and realise, hang on, this is going to actually go all the way unless there's permitting or corporate issues. So for me, it was one of those hang on a minute moments. Well, when we did the sampling in August, we finally got the results now, and apologies to shareholder, lab turnaround is quite slow. But we got them out as soon as we got them. Importantly, shareholders should know we're not warehousing results, but as soon as we got them, we know we're spoilt for choice. And to quote, I don't want to embarrass him, but our exec director, John Leving, said it's a bit of a dream that these results are coming in like this. So market reaction to one side, and I appreciate it's quite a flat market at the moment, but we're very confident about the fact that we're de-risking this asset for shareholders. We don't want to get carried away, but at the moment we can't work on it hard enough in terms of quickly get all the old holes sampled, which we'll attempt to do at the end of November. So I'm about to go away for 5 weeks on Sunday, firstly to the Levy conference to secure contractors, but then to sample the rest of the core at the end of November and I'll just point out all the core is stored just 1 hour north of Helsinki at the Loppi facility. So you're there as a guest of the government. They won't give us the core, which is fair enough, which is why I suspect it still exists. So previous custodians of the tenement didn't put it in some core shed for it to be lost. So the system works. It is we're going as fast as we can to get to the point where we do our own drilling, but I would stress we don't need to do that until March, April next year.
Yeah, well, as you said, there's been 499 holes drilled, $16 million spent on this project, which is really quite good because you've got a lot of work to do. Before we wrap up, because we are running out of time, very quickly I want to know, what's the news flow? Because we're coming into November. What's the news flow for 2024? Just give us I don't want it to be totally specific, but I guess for us to understand what are the next steps, where's the value add going to come for shareholders?
Yeah, so look, there'll be at least 2 to 3 more very solid drill intercept releases between now and March. There may, and I'm aiming for the first half, and also internally, technically, we're strong-arming each other. We've already done the void models. There may be an inferred resource estimate in the first half next year. I believe there will be, but I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. So very linear and very vanilla drill results, resource, and of course, there'll be peripheral things like more agreements with the government. We may even secure a government investment or whatever, but that, to me, that doesn't really drive value. What drives value always in these companies this size of small but promising PRS is drill results. EU critical mineral drive, where they're trying to keep up with the American IRA system, means that we are nominally supported by government. Of course, companies are better supported when they're in production or processing facilities, as we saw with the Australian government this week. But the other, I guess, third point for us is the market cap is quite low, which I know is a relative term, but I can't see another company out there worth $5 million with 500 holes that have been drilled, or 499. And that the estimate of what's been spent on the project, as you say, roughly 16 million Aussie, probably 6 million worth of drilling. So I think it's a underwritten project, if you like, in a way, in terms of value. So it's a great time for new and future owners or shareholders of the business to get involved with it.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, if I could sum it up, so what we're talking about here, and we've really not covered the other two projects because I think it's important. Korsnas is the gift that's giving at the moment. It's an asset that Jason said it's already been drilled, 499 drills, $16 million on it. And as you said before, the EU is desperate for rare earths. So location-wise, good, municipality supportive, and a market cap of 5 mil. Guys, do the maths, but not investor advice. Ring him up. But when he gets back from Finland, when he back sort of December.
I'll be back December 2, but that doesn't just what people can still call me, of course.
Okay.
So it's only 6 hours difference or 7 hours difference wherever you are. And, you know, the policy of shareholders are owners of the business, so they can call me anytime.
I love that. I love that. So there you have it. Jason, thanks so much for joining me on Making Money a Matter today. We look forward to lots more news flow coming out, but it is a pretty exciting time. I congratulate you on it, and good luck with Movember.
Well, in December it'll be gone if that's something to look forward to.
Well, we will all expect a photograph just before you get rid of it at the end of November. But thanks for supporting Men's Health, and all the best with Prospech going forward. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you, Kerry, for the kind invitation. Thank you.